Three.
Thank you. Right, that's the end of the adverts. I'd like to pass over to Colin, please, to introduce our today's guest, who is also going to probably read some greetings from other clubs.
Thank you very much, President Jeff. District Governor, fellow Rotarians, and guests, g'day. Okay. A great pleasure introducing our District Governor here today, Alan Clark. Although I don't think he really needs much introducing, especially after the email that I sent around yesterday, which I think most of us would have received. He doesn't know, but he had a clip on, a 3-minute clip of when our District Governor was dressed up as the Blues Brothers. And hasn't he got a lovely voice? Also, I will add, of course, you probably know that our District Governor is a past president of the Rotary Club of Rainham Mill. Railey Mill, so not Rainham, Railey Mill, my apologies. which I understand was about 5 years ago, was it? Or,
I've been president twice.
Twice? Oh, right, okay.
So 2010 was the last time, yeah.
Excellent. Now, I understand that he's a pretty good speaker, and we're going to get a lot of wisdom of information here today. So I'd like to welcome our District Governor in our usual way.
Thank you, Colin. I've never been greeted with one of those before. It's all right. President Jeff, fellow Rotarians, guests, anybody else that wants to listen to me, I've only been told 2 hours max. All right. So if you slide out in half an hour, then then hopefully I will finish by then. Anyway, why do I want to talk to you, and why have I been invited here by you? Well, let me tell you first, I haven't been invited by you. I invited myself, and that's what district governors do. And this is my 48th visit, so I've only got 11 to go, and then I've done my 59 clubs, which is 1240. And I want to do that in the first few months of the year, because I only started in July. Now, as you're probably aware, I'm your district governor for 2017-18. So you're probably wondering to yourself, why are you here for 2015? Well, sadly, Adrian Phillips, who was due to be the district governor this year, had to stand down because of personal problems. So I got a phone call in December, which was about the second week in December, the end of the second week in December. I was at work, and for those who don't know, I do work for Havering Council, so I'm keeping an eye on you all the time. I'm keeping you safe and keeping you well tucked up in bed. And when you have a problem during the night, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, it's me that actually comes out and represents the council. So you're all right. It's all right. Brian used to as well.
Yeah, so. He does actually get out.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, the last time I was out at 3 o'clock in the morning at Upminster Station Road, there was a fire in one of the flats up above the shops. Anyway, so I got this phone call in December, and it said, and Stan said to me, Stan Keller, the then DG, said to me, "How do you fancy a holiday?" Well, I'm into holidays, so I said, "Holiday? Where am I going?" He said, "How do you fancy going to San Diego?" I said, "San Diego?" I said, "Isn't that where you get impregnated into Rotary?" And he said, "No, it's indoctrinated into Rotary." I said, "Right." And I said, "Why? What's happened?" He told me about Adrian. So I said, "Well, I've got to ask my wife." I said, "I've got to ask Celia, I've got to go back, and if she says no, then sorry. If she says yes, then okay, but I'll let you know." So I went home, and secretly I was thinking to myself, yeah, it wouldn't be bad doing it, because at least once I've done it, isn't it, really? No. So I went back and I said to her, "How do you fancy your holiday?" And she said, "Where to?" I said, "Las Vegas." She said, "Las Vegas?" She said, "I've never been to Las Vegas." I said, "I know you haven't, because we've been married for 40 years. And I met you when you were 15, so you can't have gone to it, unless you went with somebody else." So I said, "So do you fancy going?" She said, "Oh yeah." "When?" I said, "January." She said, "That's 3 weeks' time." And I said, "Yeah." And I said, "There's a slight issue. You do have to go to San Diego first for a week." And she said, "Isn't that where you get impregnated into Rotary?" I said, "No, love." I said, "It's indoctrinated into Rotary." So anyway, away we goes. We flew over to San Diego, 11.5-hour flight.
Yeah.
God, with British Airways, all paid for by you, so thank you very much. No, it's paid by Rotary International. And you. Yeah. So anyway, we go over there, and the first thing that happens to you when you get there is you're given a badge. And this particular badge you put on, and all around this hotel that we're in, are stewards with iPhones. And they get their iPhone out and they go and put it onto your badge wherever you are in the hotel and say, "Hello Alan, how are you from the UK? You're enjoying yourself? What are you doing here? You should be over there." "Oh, sorry about that." Apparently you're chipped. So everywhere you go in the hotel, they know exactly where you are. Okay? Within reason. So what they then do is, they then tell you and they give you a warning. And the warning is, if you miss 3 sessions from what is called the Rotary International Assembly, if you miss 3, you're sent home. You're taken to the airport and you're flown back to the UK and you will not be the district governor. So, which is really quite nice of them, isn't it? You know, to sort of give you a little bit of a warning. So what you do is, you start at 8:20 in the morning and you must be in your seat by 8:20 in the morning. And at 8:20 in the morning, you do community singing. So what I'd like to do today, just to sort of get you into the mood, is a little bit of community singing.
I'm off.
I knew somebody would go. No, so I won't do that. It's all right. I want you to study. But what you actually do at the assembly is, you get in the morning, you get inspirational speakers. And following those inspirational speakers, you then go into workshops for the day. And the whole purpose of the assembly is to meet Rotarians from around the world and to actually learn to be a district governor, if you can learn to be a district governor. I think it's more about learning what Rotary really is and what Rotary is from around the world. Because in that particular room, we had 1,500 district governor-elects. But not only 1,500, we also had 1,500 partners and wives of Rotarians. Some who were Rotarians, some who weren't. So there's 3,000 people in this room. And that is what Rotary is all about. You never knew, because each session you went in there, you had a different seat. And your seat, you knew exactly from your programme what your seat number was and what your seat letter was. And I stood next to, or I sat next to a guy from Oklahoma City one day. And the next day, I sat next to somebody from Japan. And the following day, it was somebody from Hungary, or wherever. And that is what Rotary is really all about. It's knowing that what we do in the UK is done throughout the world. But there's 3 particular people I want to talk about today. 3 people that really struck me as being inspirational. And the first one I want to mention is a female Rotarian from Canada. Her name is Jennifer Jones, and she has just been appointed 2015-16 a Rotary International Director. So that means she is on the board. Her talk and her presentation was all about publicity, was all about the badge. The badge that you wear in your collar, the badge that you wear on your blouse, or whatever you wear, wherever you wear it, on your pyjamas, night dresses, you know. I wear this at night, she insists. So that badge, now people cannot read what that badge says. So unless they know what Rotary is, they don't understand the badge. And if you actually look now, they've changed the brand. They've now put the word Rotary next to the rondel. The rondel is a sign of excellence, but they need to tell people, and we need to tell people, that Rotary exists. Has Rotary, and this is a question for you, has Rotary been given the recognition for the eradication of polio? No, it hasn't. No. And yet in 1985, when Polio Plus started, it started with Rotary International handing over $10 million to the World Health Organization for the eradication of polio. And that's what it did. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation set a challenge to Rotary. And that challenge was that we will pay up to $200 million if Rotary can raise that sum and match it. And what did Rotary do? They raised $200 million. But in fact, they then raised another $140 million. So Rotary alone has raised $340 million, which were matched by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And yet, where does Rotary sit with all of the publicity? What are we doing as Rotarians, as ordinary Rotarians? What am I doing as a district governor? What is RIBI doing? What is RI doing? What are all of our assistant governors doing? Norman. What are they doing to push Rotary? We have got to be out there. I've got 4 Facebook pages. One of them is Rotary International, District Governors 2015-16. One is my own personal Facebook page. And we've got 2, Rotary in Essex, and we've also got Rotary 1240. Rotary 1240 is the public-facing one. Rotary in Essex is the one that is for you as Rotarians. What I would say is please use it, because that is where we push the message out about Rotary and about what Rotary has done and about what Rotary is going to do with the eradication of polio. And that's what Jennifer Jones was saying. We cannot sit back and wait while somebody else does the PR for us. We have got to do it ourselves. And then we rely on Rotary International, RIBI and District to do their part as well. And that's what I'm trying to do as I go out to all of the meetings that I attend and all of the events that I attend. I try to push Rotary and Rotary International, because if I don't do it, how can I expect you as members to do it? So what the message was from Jennifer was, go out there, sell the product, and we will sell the product as well, because we have a superb product. And if we don't sell that product, what is going to happen to us? If you look at the average age of a Rotarian in RIBI last year, it was 72 years of age. If you look at the average age of a Rotarian in RIBI this year, it's 73 years of age. We have to go out there and we have to sell our story and we have to sell our organisation. Because if we don't, who is actually going to help the people who we've been helping over the years? We've been here over 100 years. We want to last another 100 years. We've got to keep going. So Jennifer Jones, remember that name, because I will say to you, and if you remember that name, I believe, and this is my own opinion, I believe she will become the first woman Rotary International president, because she is Rotary and she knows what she wants and she knows how to push Rotary, mainly because she's got a PR company as well. So however, she cannot employ her own company to actually push Rotary, but she does it herself. She does it as a Rotarian. I actually met her in the lift one day, and we were coming down in the lift in the hotel, and she was with her husband and I was with Celia. And I turned around to her and I said, Jennifer, I said, I've got to say this. Can I just say what an inspirational speech you gave? And she said, thank you very much for that. She said, which particular part of my speech was inspirational? And I said, well, really, I said, Jennifer, I can't remember any of it, but I know some parts of it were inspirational. And as we got out the lift at the bottom, she turned round to her husband, and I was with Celia, and as we got out, she turned around and she said, you know, she said, I love the Brits, they've got such a sense of humour. So the second one I actually want to tell you about is another woman Rotarian from America, Mary Ann Fitzgerald. Now Mary Ann Fitzgerald is she was an international officer in her own club, and she led a project to build a school in the Philippines. And she wanted to build it, but she wanted to provide for the children of that particular village and other villages, surrounding villages. So what they did is they raised $70,000. And that $70,000 built the school and helped the children to go to that school. The following year, that same club raised $70,000 for the upkeep of the school and for the children to go to that school again for the next year. And as she was walking away from the school, she was stopped by a man in the field. And through her interpreter, he turned round and said, "Can I thank Rotary for what they have done to provide my child with an education?" And she said, "But that is what Rotary does." And he said, "But there is something else you can do for me." And she said, "Well, what's that?" He said, "Buy me a water buffalo." And she said, "Why would you want a water buffalo?" And he said, "If you buy me a water buffalo, I can increase the amount of crops that I grow. Those extra crops I can sell, and that money will help pay for my child to go to that school. So I would not be reliant on Rotary to do it." So she went home from that visit, and all her friends and relatives said to her, "What would you like for Christmas?" She said, "Buy me a water buffalo." And they sent water buffalo over to that village. They now do not fund that school. That school is self-funding. It is sustainable. And what her message was how can we commit this year's president, next year's president, next year's Rotarians on exactly the same project? What we need to do is make that project sustainable so that the following year we can actually go to another project and make another project. Because that is what we need to do. Because we can't be stuck in the past. We need to move forward into the future. The third person I want to mention is our Rotary International President. His name is K.R. Ravindran. Now, being Sri Lankan, have we got any Sri Lankans? No? Being Sri Lankan, apparently they have first names with letters this long, with words this long, don't they? And he said, "But to ensure that you can actually call me by my name, you can call me Ravi." So we call him Ravi, R-A-V-I, Ravi Ravindran. And he came from Sri Lanka. And he's a tea plantation owner, or he was. And then if you can remember, some years ago, there was a lot of problems between the Tamils and the government. And what happened was he lost his plantation. But knowing that he had to continue and provide for his own family, he went into packaging, tea packaging. He heard a little rumour that the chief exec officer of Brook Bond was visiting Sri Lanka to buy tea. So he said to his agent, "Can you get me an interview with the chief exec?" And he said, "Chances of that are like finding hen's teeth, but we'll give it a go." He managed to secure a 5-minute interview. So he went into that interview, and the chief exec turned round to him and said, "Right," he said, "I'm giving you 5 minutes. You've got to prove to me that the product that you are going to produce is good enough for my product." He said, "If it's not good enough, you will not get a contract." So Ravi went into his pocket and he took out 2 tea bags. And he went to the chief exec sitting at the desk and he handed the 2 tea bags to the chief exec. Have you got Sergeant Grant? The chief exec then took the tea bags, looked at them, felt them, did all sorts with them, whatever you can do with tea bags, make tea with them. So he got those, and he turned around to his staff and he said, "Give him a contract. Give him a contract for 12 months to supply packaging to one of my products. And if it's good enough in that 12 months, I will give him a better contract, a bigger contract." Ravi said thank you very much and went out of the door with his agent. His agent turned around to him and said, "Ravi, how on earth in less than 5 minutes have you achieved a contract worth thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds to our company?" And he said, "Simple." He said, I handed him 2 of his own tea bags. He said he never asked me which was mine and which was his. So he compared 2 Brook Bond tea bags. And his agent turned around to him and said, isn't that being dishonest? And he said, no. It's being innovative and flexible. And those are the 2 words that Ravi has asked me to bring back to you Rotarians, to my clubs, to my district, to RIBI. We need to be innovative and flexible. We need to extend our membership. We need to grow our membership. Now, one of the things I've been told is, if we've got a club with very few members, and we do have in District 1240, we've got some clubs which are only got 10, 12 members, 15 members, yet still do a lot for their community. I've been told, forget them, let them die, they're going to die, they're not going anywhere, let's start a new club. And I'm saying, no. Yes, let's start a new club, but let's start a new club with that other club. And then within 12 months, we join the 2 clubs together. And what you've actually done is strengthened the club that was dying. It's used the experience of the Rotarians that we've got in that club, and it's brought in younger members who will eventually take over the running of that club. Because what Ravi said at the RIBI assembly in Birmingham was, we need younger members, but not at the expense of the older members. Because it's the older members who are the backbone of the organisation, certainly in RIBI. It's the older members who have made the mistakes in the past and know how to organise things, how to get, to look at the ideas that they've had and say, well, that one works, that one doesn't. So they can help, they have that experience. But we need to get the younger members. I'm looking in this district to actually introduce a family club, the parents and the children. And they'll meet in a soft play area on a Saturday morning, or they'll meet in a community centre on a Saturday morning, or in the evening. And they will operate as a Rotary club. And they will do their bits for charity. They will do their bits for the community, but under the auspices and under the name of Rotary. Because that's what we need to do. We cannot afford to not do it. Because as I said earlier, who is going to help if we aren't there?
So true.
Round Table has nearly gone. Lions are losing members. We need desperately to get more members. And we will. We have 1.25 million at the moment. We did have 1.6 million. On average in RIBI, we are losing 1,000 members a year. Now we need to do something about it. And it's for all of us to do it. I'm going into partnership with ECDP, the Essex Coalition of Disabled People, because we do a lot of money raising and fundraising for charities with disabilities. Why don't we get those people with those disabilities into the clubs? Why can't we accept them as part of us? We don't. Very few, if you go around a lot of the clubs, and this is, as I said, this is my 48th visit to the clubs, there are very few disabled people members of Rotary. Why? So I'm working with the Chief Executive of Essex Coalition of Disabled People to change that and to bring them in. And we're being watched from District 1240 by a number of the other districts who have now seized on my initiative to actually go into partnership. And they want to do exactly the same, but they want to see how we get on here in Essex, Hertfordshire and Greater London. Well, I said Essex one day. Somebody stood up and said, yeah, what about Hertfordshire? Yeah. So, that's what we need to do. The second story I want to mention, just before I finish, the second story I want to mention is another one that Ravi told us. And it was of a hospital in Colombo. He is from the Rotary Club of Colombo. And many years ago, they wanted to build, or they needed to build, an emergency baby unit. They were having a lot of problems with premature births. And they hadn't got the technology, the healthcare, the education to do something about it. So what they did through the Rotary Club Foundation, they went to get a matching grant, as it used to be called, as opposed to now a global grant, to build this emergency baby unit. And within this emergency baby unit, they had 12 incubators. And they opened it up, and out in the corridor on the day that it was opened was a man and a woman. Ravi turned round to this man and woman and said, "Is your child within one of those incubators?" Because all 12 of those incubators were full. They all had babies in them. And the man turned round and said, "Yes, she's a little girl, she's in the front just through the window, but we've been told by the doctors that as she's 3 months premature, her rate of survival is nearly nil. We don't think she is going to survive." Ravi did a very brave thing. He turned round to the man and the woman and said, "Rotary have put all the money into this unit. Rotary have put all the science and technology that we could possibly put into there. We have educated, and we are educating the doctors, the nurses, the midwives, purely to help children survive." He said, "I will make a promise to you, this little girl of yours will survive." Brave thing to say. 10 years later, he went back. Within the incubators, there was one child. The other 11 were empty, because education had come on so well in 10 years. Healthcare had come on in so long in 10 years. Education, health education had come on so much. In the corridor was a man, a woman, and a child, a little girl. And he turned to the man and woman and said, "Is your child," because there was only one child in the incubator, "is that your child?" And the man said, "No." He said, "I've been invited here to thank Rotary for what they did 10 years ago. And you made a promise to me that my child would survive. This little girl is the 10-year-old little girl that you told me would survive. And she survived because of what Rotary did. She survived because of what Rotary built and what Rotary across the world had given. And without Rotary, she would have died. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for my family on what Rotary has done to do it." And what I'm saying to us, everybody today, is if we don't do what we are good at doing, we will not survive, and we cannot afford to let our communities, and we cannot afford to let the world be without Rotary. Finally, Ravi said, when he launched his theme in San Diego, he launched a theme that was "Be a gift to the world." And the way he actually told it was, he said to us, when we are born, we're given the gift of life. As we grow up, we're given the gift of education. We're given the gift of shelter. We're given the gift of food. We're given so many gifts in our lives that it is now that I ask of you to make a promise. The same promise that he has made, that for the next 12 months and beyond, he will be a gift to the world. And I ask you, from Ravi, and from me, and from Rotary itself, for you all in this room today to be a gift to the world. Thank you. Ron.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's not very often, if ever, I've got up to thank the District Governor for the talk. But that, in my view, is one of the most inspirational talks I have ever heard. Again, the feelings that run through me, and I've been in the Rotary for 59 years nearly, the feelings that run through me over the years is that I've just listened to them, but it's gone over my head. You've given us a message this afternoon that really is something. You must be very proud of what you said. It was a wonderful, inspirational talk. Thank you.
No, thank you. Subhash.
Thank you, Mr. President. It was a very interesting talk, and I'm very thankful to him that we got the message. You mentioned about getting the disabled people in the club. we are always here to welcome them. The problem is they are shy. I've spoken to some of them and they said, no, we can't. I don't think we will fit in that society. So the main aim is that we must speak to them, approach them, and tell them not to join the Rotary, come to the Rotary and see if you can fit. If that person, whether it's he or she, can fit, it will be, he or she will be welcomed in the club. And I think that's the main thing we have to do. As regards inspirational is concerned, similarly, as you said, I was in Jaipur to visit the Limb Center about 2 years ago. It was very interesting. If we visit those places, see for ourselves how they are working, it touches our heart, and then we are more interested or more prone towards raising funds or helping them. Last thing, about Bill Gates. I was in Chicago when I visited the headquarters, and I saw the statue of Bill Gates right at the gate on the right side, giving polio drops to the small children. It was very good. I saw the certificate, that photocopy of the check which he made out to the Rotary Club, and I was very pleased about that. We still thank to him, but we didn't hear it in the newspapers, as you say that we did not get that publicity as we should have got it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
Just one? Yes. Well, sorry, thank you. Well, it's just one question, actually, Mr. Governor. I was very pleased to hear, of course, as the guys here will know, that you were speaking quite heavily there on Facebook. And you've actually got 4 Facebook pages. I wonder if you could perhaps just tell our members, I've been trying to persuade to the point of becoming boring on how important Facebook is probably to our Rotary. And I think the main concerns are that I think some people in our members here are a little bit concerned about whether it's dangerous or whether it's easy or hard to use. And that's really just my last one.
Right. Yeah. I don't work for Facebook. All right.
No.
Facebook. I am a technophobe. I just didn't like technology. And then somebody said to me, they said, "Have you got a Facebook page?" And I said, "Oh, it's dangerous. Oh, I don't want them knowing everything that I'm doing. I don't want to put something on there. I've just been to the toilet and things like that." And apparently that's Twitter.
That's Twitter.
So, but Facebook is totally different because you tell it who you're going to be friends with. And if you don't like an individual, you can actually block that individual from seeing yours and from seeing theirs. So you actually have to have an invite. So you invite people to your page. And they will invite... I get, on average, a day, maybe 200 wanting to link up with me. And I'll go through them, and I'll look at the ones that I'll want to, and I'll knock the ones that I don't. And you only accept what you want to accept. But what I do is, the whole purpose is to get Rotary out there. And that's why I use Facebook. Because if I do something like I pay a visit to a club, I will put that onto Facebook. And lots of my friends see that I've done it. And when I do a thing called a blog, which is different to Facebook, and what it is, it's my life as your district governor for the next year. So if you want to go onto the district website and have a look at that, you can see the district governor's blog, and I've just put another few pages on. Especially, I went to a charter, and one of the things I did for their charter is I write poetry, and I actually wrote a poem about the club. And that goes onto the blog, so that people can actually see what the district governor's doing. But also, more importantly, it's what Rotary are doing in Essex, Herts and Greater London. And we need to do that because, if we don't do it, who's going to do it? So it's not dangerous. It's a great tool, and it'll give you a great link up with Rotarians as well, from not just the UK but from all over the world. And that's what I like it for, because when you go to San Diego and you see what Rotary is all about, that is what it's all about. Get the name out.
It can also save you a lot of money on Christmas card post.
That is exactly what I'm not doing, sending Christmas cards.
Well, I think you heard the names of 3 inspirational speakers, and you can probably add another one to the bottom of that, Mr. Alan Clark, District Governor. I'd like to thank him very much indeed for coming and spending his time with us, and we look forward to seeing you on our 70th Charter Sunday lunch.
Yeah.
So would you please give him a round of applause and thank him very much for coming. Right, remind us, the next meeting, the menu, Christine, do we know yet?
Yes, beer battered mushrooms and fish pie.
Beer battered mushrooms and chicken pie?
Fish pie.
Fish pie, lovely, thank you.